and gentlemen, please welcome Salman Ahmad.
There's an old saying in Pakistan which goes like, that whisper in your heart has strength. It may not have wings, but it has the power to fly. I first discovered that whisper around the age of 6. I was born in Lahore, Pakistan, and there was a family wedding, and at family weddings, there always used to be music. So at this family wedding, a Qawwali concert was taking place. Qawwali music is about unity, sacred union, whirling, trance-like rhythms, hand claps, and joy. So as a 6-year-old, what I remember is my aunts and uncles dancing in a state of bliss, fana, mystical ecstasy, and some of them were throwing money at the musicians. And I thought, that's a pretty good job. But also, I knew as a 6-year-old in Pakistan that my career, or what my mother always said was, son, you can either become a doctor or you can become a doctor. That was not for me. Cut to when I'm 11, my father, who worked in the airlines, he came home and he said, I've got a job offer in Manhattan, and so we're moving 8,000 miles away to New York. And so my younger sister and I, you know, I'm going to date myself now. We said, Ronald McDonald, 13 channels of television, let's go. So we arrive, and the first 2 years in my middle school, I'm the only overweight brown Muslim kid, and I have no friends except for TV and radio. Until one day when I was 13 at my bus stop, this kid who went to school with me, Danny Spitz, he went on to play guitar in the heavy metal band Anthrax. He looked at me and he said, Sal, Sal, Sal. Dude, you gotta get cool. And I looked at him and I said, cool? What is cool? So Danny took this red ticket out of his back pocket and he said, dude, if you buy this ticket from me, your life will change. Now, as he was hustling me that ticket, I'm thinking about my conservative Muslim mother who thinks, you know, going out anywhere is, you're going to lose your culture, you're going to lose your religion. Yet the whisper in my heart was whispering loudly. And I said, what is that ticket? He said, this is a ticket to see a rock and roll concert at Madison Square Garden. It's for Monday night. It's the only ticket I have. So I said, Danny, I'll buy the ticket. I took the ticket from him. I went home, and I said to my mother, there's this field trip. Entire school is going to Madison Square Garden on this Monday night, and you have to drive me. So my mother looks at me with these silent, skeptical eyes. She says, well, you'll have to dress up. And so on that Monday, I'm wearing a yellow floral shirt, red and white striped pants, a black belt, and shiny black shoes. That's how Pakistani kids went out to birthday parties. And so we drive down from Rockland County into Manhattan, and I said to my mother, 3 blocks away from Madison Square, just drop me here and pick me up later. And as I walk on the sidewalk, and I'm going to date myself, there are thousands and thousands of teenagers with torn jeans, peace signs, and expressions which say dazed and confused. So you know where I'm going with this. On the Jumbotron, it says, tonight, live in concert, Led Zeppelin. Now, for me, Led Zeppelin could have been the Bay City Rollers. So I walk in, and after about hanging around in this smoky atmosphere with thousands of teenagers who had, you know, these blissful expressions, just like at the Qawwali concert when I was 6 years old, the lights go down and these 4 musicians come up on stage. One of them, the guitar player, Jimmy Page, has this two-headed guitar. He's got dragons painted on his pants, and these laser lights are hitting him. And he picks up the guitar and he goes, dum dum, da da dum dum, da da dum, da da dum dum, da da dum, da 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 dum, da da dum. And all of a sudden, this almighty roar goes up saying, Kashmir! I'm thinking, Kashmir, it's not safe there. Pakistan and India have fought 3 wars over Kashmir. Yet, in this tornado of guitar, bass, drums, and vocals, and a whole lot of love, my heart whispered very strongly again. And at the end of that show, I said, I want to do that for the rest of my life. And so I go home, and I said to my mother, can I buy a guitar? And she said, well, if you can save up enough money, you can buy a guitar. So I worked as a busboy, Blauville Coach Diner, saved up $237 to buy a copy of a Les Paul. And once I had that instrument, it was my soulmate. I just never, came out of my room, locked myself in, listened to the Beatles, listened to the Zeppelin, Hendrix, Clapton, Beck, and I learned all the blues. And pretty soon, my parents got very scared. One day, a surgeon uncle from Pakistan showed up, and they said, can you go into his room and extract him? So my uncle Anwar comes into the room, and I'm wailing away. And he says, Beta, son, what are you going to do with your life? So behind him was this poster of Jimi Hendrix. I said, I want to be like that guy there. So he goes back to my parents and he says, look, if he stays in the States, he's going to become a musician. Send him back to Pakistan now. There is no rock music there. So when I graduated from high school, my family moves back. I'm back in my city of Lahore. But now what's changed is there used to be democracy, but while I was away, a general, a military dictator came into power. It was like having a Pakistani Oliver Cromwell. No celebration, no enjoyment, no gender mixing, no music, especially not guitar music. It was like the kingdom of darkness. And I was in the first year of medical school in Lahore, and I was losing my mind. I couldn't go to any concerts, so one day I thought of this crazy idea. There used to be this gong show on TV. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to put together a secret talent show. So anybody in my class who can tell a joke, who can juggle, who can do anything or play guitar, can be on stage and have their 10 minutes of fame. So I schemed this whole thing up. It was off campus, 60 of us, and at this show, I'm waiting for the juggler to end so I can get up on stage. I had practiced Eddie Van Halen's Eruption. And I had one accompanying musician with me, a drummer, who had a cymbal, a snare drum, and a bass drum. And I said to him, each time I look at you, just hit the drums really hard. So I go into my solo, and I close my eyes. I'm going to this fast finger tapping, this part of the solo, and all of a sudden I hear these screams. And in my mind's eye, 18 years old, I'm thinking, I am the rock star. This is a little bit like Michael J. Fox in Back to the Future. And the screams get louder and louder, and I'm just enjoying myself until I realize that these screams are not of adulation and admiration. These screams are of apprehension and danger. So I open up my eyes, and lo and behold, I see the Taliban. And religious extremists who had heard that there was a den of sin and vulgarity, girls and guys mixing with each other, so they came there with burqas. They threw the burqas on the girls, and one of them, this guy with a crazed look in his eye, came up to me And before I could process what he was trying to do, he grabbed my guitar, my Les Paul, and he smashed it on the marble floor. My rock and roll dream there, and in a weird way I also thought, you know, this is complete humiliation because rock musicians destroy their own guitars. Yet he goes to me, if you ever play that thing again, I will shoot you down. And they had guns. And this was also in neighboring Afghanistan. The Soviets were there. So there was a drug culture, heroin, and a Kalashnikov culture which had filtered into Pakistan. So it was this really scary time. And a lot of students were killed for no reason. And the stark choices I had was either to cave into the fear, give up my passion, or follow my heart. I chose to follow my heart. Now, ever since terrorists have hijacked Islam, they've twisted so many things. For example, suicide is haram, it's prohibited, but there's suicide bombing. Killing innocents is prohibited, but they kill innocents. And the word, the J word, the dreaded J word, jihad, which actually means to strive, to lift yourself up, to lift yourself up and to lift society up, has been now conjures up these images of violence and extremism. So I decided, while I was in medical school, I was going to wage a rock and roll jihad, a struggle to play my music. And I started several clandestine underground bands in Lahore, two of which, Vital Signs, became the biggest band in Pakistan. And the one I founded, Junoon, which means uncompromising passion bordering on madness. In other words, crazy. That band became the biggest rock band of South Asia. I found myself, thank you. In 2008, I took Junoon to play the first ever rock concert in Kashmir, despite death threats from militants. I played at the Nobel Peace Prize ceremony, and I'm here to tell you the story at the Moth. Thank you.